If you're looking for top bets and to make money, you came to the right place. This is the Frisky Risky Betting and Fantasy Podcast with your host, the legendary man with the bets, the guy who's put in all the work so that you don't have to and can win money, Willy P, and then myself, who just sits here and either agrees or disagrees with him. We're happy to be here. It is week 8. It is Friday, October 25th. Willy P. We are getting into
Spooky.
week 8 of the NFL, man. Not just the NFL, but sports are starting to pick up everywhere. We got the World Series
Mhm,
starting today.
mhm,
NBA has started.
mhm.
NHL has started. It is a great time of year for us. We love it. Keeps us busy, keeps us going. But today we're going to talk NFL. We're going to keep bringing the money, putting it in people's pockets. And Willie P, you are going to start us off
Oh, no.
with some money line and spread bets, the top of week 8. Let us know what you got for us.
Well, just to start off, I'm looking at Thursday Night Football next week just because it is Halloween, and I swear to God,
Spooky
Goodell did
season.
this on dude, spooky season to the max. Even though this weekend I think most people are celebrating Halloween because whatever, but seems like Goodell knew what he was doing because for that Thursday Night Football that is on Halloween, it is Texans at the Jets. And I'm sure everybody will be hammering the Texans. And knowing how Halloween goes, I'm sure the Jets will win outright. I'm going to say that right now. So when it happens, we have it on record. But that is not my first money line spread pick because that is obviously week 9. But I was just thinking about it. I was like, Halloween's on next Thursday. We got a football game. That's weird. But anyway, my first pick for money line spread, we got the Falcons. I know we've been at least me and you were kind of bitching and moaning about the Falcons because Kirk Cousins, as we've said multiple times on this show, is not worth the money that he got. But I think he will be worth the money that they paid for him this week as they go on the road to Tampa Bay, who is egregiously banged up on the offensive end, as most people saw on that Monday night game against the Ravens. Mike Evans re-aggravated that hamstring injury, and Chris Godwin had a terrible ankle injury that they wouldn't even show on the live broadcast. So, and of course, I was like getting up to make some food or something. I can't even. I think I was getting a beer, and he gets hurt, and then I hear Joe Buck go, "We're not even going to show this," and I was like, "God damn it! I really did not need to go get a beer right then." But anyway, I love the Falcons on the spread at -2.5. My biggest reason is those two injuries for Tampa Bay in their wide receiver core. I'm just kind of curious to see how Baker plays when he doesn't have those solid wide receiver 1 and 2 options. But the other big reasons why I love the Falcons on the spread at -2.5 is the Bucks are ranked 31 out of 32 in total defense in the NFL. Their defense has struggled all year, which is interesting to see given that we know that Todd Bowles has always had a pretty solid defense, especially when obviously your boy Brady was there for that one year. That defense was ridiculous, but they have been struggling this year. They also do rank 29th in pass defense. While the Falcons rank 5th in passing offense. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a big game. He's going to, have a lot of opportunities to throw the ball and have windows and exploit that terrible pass defense that the Bucks have, as well as the Falcons are number 7 in the league in total offense. So they don't run the ball as I'm sure as well as they'd like to with Bijan. They're only 16 out of 32, which isn't terrible, but it's definitely middle of the road. But just given where these two teams rank in offense and defense so far through 7 games this year, I feel like Falcons -2.5 is damn near free money. I just have a hard time believing that Baker Mayfield will be able to will that Band-Aid of an offense to a win. I get they are at home, but especially since the spread, at least right now, is only 2.5, I feel really good about that. I feel like the public will be hammering that. So get to that as soon as you can because that line should, if everything goes according to plan, move to probably 3.5, maybe 4. Which then I don't really know how I feel about it. But again, I do feel like the Falcons should have a heyday in Tampa Bay this weekend. So give me the Falcons on the spread. I feel pretty damn good about that pick for sure.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. This one's hard because honestly, if Godwin and Evans weren't hurt, then I'm taking Tampa Bay in this game.
Me too. No, 100%.
No doubt. But with those two guys down, it's way too hard to put money on that
Man,
team. Those both of those guys are absolute dogs, and so to lose
mhm.
both of them is tough. So, yep, I would totally agree with that. No issues there.
Yeah, my next one, we're gonna, as you know, I say it every week. I love to ride the hot hand, and the hot hand I'm gonna ride this week is Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. They're 4-point favorites on the road in Jacksonville. I'm taking them on the spread at -4. I think they're gonna win by a touchdown. I just have no faith in Jacksonville at all. The Packers rank sixth in total offense, ninth in pass, and fifth in the rush. The Jags rank 27th out of 32 in total defense. As you've seen all year, they're just an absolute dumpster fire. I love Doug Peterson. I think he's a pretty solid coach, but the way he's been coaching that team this year and the way they've been performing, especially after Trevor Lawrence got that massive contract extension, I can't put any money near the Jags unless I'm fading them. So that's why I like the Packers at -4. And seems like after that injury, Jordan Love has really been finding his rhythm. And with that young offensive core of wide receivers, they're just, I mean, it's a smorgasbord of who could go crazy. But I love the way Jordan Love's been playing right now. And he made some crazy throws last weekend, and I think he'll continue to do it this weekend.
Yeah, they pulled out a nice win there last weekend, right at the end, and um, yeah, you got to go with Green Bay, man.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, until they figure it out, it's hard. That's another hard one because in the past, Jacksonville has
Yeah.
their offense has been clicking, and but this year, for some reason, they're just not. And it's not like they lost a bunch of guys, really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, or weapons. So they really should have that rapport with each other, but something's not going right. Um, who knows what that is, whether it's personal reasons or scheme. But they have to find it. They are at home. Green Bay is still that 4 point favorite, despite Jacksonville being the home team. Jacksonville comes
As
back
they
from
should be.
after 2 weeks in London.
Mhm.
So we'll see how they're feeling after that as well. So yeah, you got to go with Green Bay. And if Jacksonville does somehow upset them, that's part of playing the game.
I was going to say, I'll take that L any day of the week. All logic says Packers. I
Yeah.
mean, Jordan Love is fitting balls into windows that aren't even there for 99% of the progression of the play. And that kid is just, he is something special. And the Packers are looking like one of the, I mean, they could give a lot of teams in the NFC a run for their money in the playoffs. So as long as they stay healthy and they keep doing what they're doing, I love the Packers right now.
Yeah.
My next one, this one I don't feel as good about, but for some reason, I know like 2 weeks ago we were bitching and moaning about Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, but now that they have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown back, and obviously they still have Saquon Barkley, who's an absolute workhorse in that backfield for the Eagles, I'm taking the Eagles +3 on the road in Cincinnati this weekend. I think I don't know. Maybe it was Sirianni shaving his head and realizing that he needs to pretty much coach for his job for the rest of the season. Um, as well as, like I said, they got their two main weapons on that offense and AJ Brown and Devonta Smith back. I love the Eagles this week on the spread. Do I think they might win in Cincinnati? I think they could win outright, but I'm going to play it safe and take them on the spread at +3. I think it'll be a very close game. The Bengals are definitely finding their groove, but the Eagles are ranked ninth in total defense, 10th against the pass, and 14th against the rush. The Bengals are 22 in total defense, so I think Jalen Hurts will have a good day with his two big top dogs, and Saquon Barkley should have a great day as well. And the big thing that I hate in terms of matchup wise for the Bengals is they rank 21 out of 32 in rushing defense. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a really big weekend, and we all know if you establish the run well and you go to it early and often and it's successful, that just only makes your quarterback's life easier. And if Jalen Hurts is having an easy day back there, that means Devonta Smith or AJ Brown, or probably both, are going to go crazy. So I love the Eagles to keep it close, and I'm taking them on the spread at +3.
Interesting, interesting. Well, you'll see when we get to the pick 'em. I picked Cincinnati for this game. I do think they're finding their groove. Um, I I think that they also understand that they have to start winning these types of games
Mm-hmm.
to stay in it with how the Ravens are playing right now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so obviously
Even the Steelers, yeah.
in the Steelers. Obviously, on the other end, Philly doesn't have as much pressure in that realm. With the Giants are,
Mm-hmm.
trash. uh, Dallas. trash right now.
Trash. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Obviously the Commanders, they're playing well, but with a rookie QB, they're not going to be as worried once you start getting there. So I don't think they have that. But to your point, I think Sirianni has that kind of pressure. So it is going to be. There's a lot of pressure on both ends, but I do think Cincinnati pulls it out. Now, with that said, could it be a 1-point game? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could be a field goal at the end that wins it. I could definitely see that happening. So I don't hate the the spread pick there. I just have Cincinnati winning it outright in
Yeah.
our
And
pick'ems.
the
So
and the biggest stat for me that was just very glaring to me yesterday when I was doing all this prep for the show, the Bengals rank 28th out of 32 in rush offense. Obviously, Joe Burrow is a phenomenal quarterback. When he's healthy, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. My worry with that is the Eagles have a great rush defense. Um, and if they stop Chase Brown and Zach Moss early and they're forcing Joe Burrow to throw the ball more than he would like, it just doesn't, the script doesn't seem to be moving in that favor. But then again, who knows? So, but yeah, it should be a close game. I think obviously that's why Vegas has the spread at 3. They think it will be close as well.
I'm
So
surprised actually
should
that the
be.
spread is that high. I would have thought
Oh,
this
you
would
think it'd be
be.
closer to a pick 'em?
I thought it'd be closer to a pick 'em on this one. Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, and that moves into my last one. We got the Bills going on the road at the Seahawks, and they are a 3. The Bills are a -3 favorite, and I'm taking the Bills on the spread this week.
Hmm.
One, we keep kind of beating the same horse with the Seahawks, but we have to because they keep doing it. They obviously blew out the Falcons last weekend, and they keep playing this wavy game of they look good and then they're fake good, and they play like shit. So, the big thing with this too is it goes actually right into our next segment very perfectly, and that's kind of why I took this pick as well of Bills -3 on the road. But since week 5, road teams are now 16-3 against the spread. Road favorite teams are 16-3 against the spread. They were 16-2 until last night's game with the Vikings going to LA to play the Rams, and the Rams obviously won outright. So obviously the Vikings did not cover. So now that's why we
We
are
got their
16
boys
and three.
back.
The boys are back, and the boys were buzzing. And of course, I was telling you right before the show, I didn't play Puka because I was worried about that knee, and he didn't go crazy, but he looks very good. So I'm very happy about that. And I know you have Cooper Kupp who got in the end zone last night, so that was always good to see.
That's
But
right.
yeah, I love this trend. As we all know, I love riding hot trends, and this has been the hottest trend since week 5 of road favorites covering the spread. So moving into that, like I said, road favorites are now 16-3 since week 5. The only now 3 teams to not cover as a road favorite is the Vikings, Jets, and Chargers, and all 3 of those teams were on primetime games. So that's something to be said in of itself. Another little microcosm of a trend in a bigger trend of maybe watch primetime games for road favorites. It doesn't seem like they like to cover, at least as of late. So, but my next big trend.
Hang on real quick before we go on to the next one. Let me just back up to that Buffalo Seattle pick earlier that you had. DK Metcalf is probably out as well. So
That's true.
with that MCL sprain, so that's a huge um, swing to Buffalo's favor, if you ask me.
Yeah, just
And
so excited about that.
Kenneth Walker's dealing with an illness right now, so we'll see if he plays. If he's still sick, then I would hammer Buffalo right now. Well, I do it even if he's not sick, just because the DK Metcalf he sat out Thursday practice. Kenneth Walker sat out Thursday practice. And so it's trending towards DK Metcalf 100% being out is where that's trending to. And Kenneth Walker, even if he's back, will he be 100% after that illness?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and as we saw last week, Amari Cooper, their new asset, got in the end zone. Granted, he did ask Keon Coleman what the route he was running was, but he's got another week.
that's what
He's
great
probably
players do, though. It doesn't matter, man. They figure it out and they
doesn't
get in
matter.
the end zone.
Dude caught the ball. Does not matter. And he's obviously had now a full week to start learning that offense. I'm sure that it's only going to get better for him and Josh Allen in terms of their chemistry, and he's obviously still a phenomenal wide receiver. So, yeah, if the Seahawks win this game this weekend, I will be very surprised. They're just so fugazi to me and just so hot and cold. I just can't. I can't ride with the Seahawks. And the trend I said, road favorites are loving covering the spread, and they're actually covering by at least 2 points on average. So that's another good little niche thing to know. And speaking about covering the spread, the Lions are a 11-point favorite on the road and Tennessee this weekend. I think is Will Levis isn't going to play again from what I saw. It sounds like Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter again, which doesn't really matter because they both suck and the Titans are terrible. And now they obviously got rid of DeAndre Hopkins, so it's not like they're improving their team at all, at least in the immediate, which I don't think that is really what their plan is anymore. But the big thing with why I'm bringing this up as the Lions as a 11-point favorite this weekend
I
is
got that move. That's at 12.5 now.
okay, well, there you go. It moved overnight because people probably saw it and were hammering it. Well, either way, Detroit hasn't closed as this high of a favorite since 1996 against the Buccaneers when the Lions had Barry Sanders. We all know what Barry Sanders did for the Lions. He was an absolute freak. That was 459 games ago for the Lions. Just keep it in mind. I'm not saying to take the Titans on the spread. What I'm telling you really is don't touch this game at anywhere on the spread. Maybe you could sneak in a nice little live bet if for some reason the Titans catch them by surprise and get to a decent lead early, which I don't think they will. But I generally don't take double
They
digits.
lost DeAndre Hopkins too, so there.
Yeah, I generally don't take double digit spreads anyway. They're just so risky. Even in college football, like it's just so many points. And 12 points, 12 and a half points, 13 points is a lot of points in the NFL. I mean, that's obviously dang near 2 touchdowns. So just kind of more of a public betting warning for the people out there. And just the Lions don't cover big spreads a lot. And so just don't touch that game for me, please. I hate having buddies come to me and like, oh, I took a 10.5 point spread and they won by 3. I'm like, why would you do that?
I can't wait till we get off air. I'm taking the Lions by 21.
Just hammer him at like plus 300. Put the mortgage on it.
You watch. It's hitting.
Oh man, I mean,
hitting, dude.
It happens, but it's just always so scary to me. I'm like, any one little garbage time play could ruin. It's just.
Are you a degenerate or not? Take it by 21.
Dude, I'll tell you what it is after. I'll look it up, and I'm curious to see what those odds are. I bet it's huge. But this is another fun little stat. My last one, last little trend for the show. But through the first 4 weeks, favorites have gone 27, 35, and 2 against the spread. That is a 44% rate of them covering the spread. And they have failed during that span. They failed to cover by nearly 3 points, which is wild. That's a pretty big swing. Now, favorites are 28, 14, and 1 against the spread from week 5 on. Over the last 3 weeks, they are 28, 14, and 1, which is a 67% cover rate, covering by almost 5 points per game. So, as I think most people would agree, and I think you would agree as well, Tyler, the first couple weeks of the NFL season are always kind of weird. People are figuring out their
settling in, injuries,
getting the kinks out, getting the rust off, yada yada yada. Guys that hold out for contracts are finally not getting rusty anymore because they finally have the reps that they were missing from preseason. But don't be afraid to maybe hammer some chalk and take some favorites on the spread moving forward because at least right now they're trending up and they've been covering well. So obviously it's all matchup dependent. But as most people know, as the season moves on, teams settle in. We definitely get to see a more clear identity of who teams are and what they like to do and what they don't like to do and all that jazz. So just keep those in mind. Favorites are staying hot right now. Who knows? They could come crashing down to earth for the next couple of weeks. But so far, the trends are saying take the favorites on the spread, especially if they're a road favorite. So,
yeah, I like it. Well, there you have it. Moneyline spread bets plus trends. Listen, lock it in. Get your money. Come back next week and thank us. With that, we move to a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of must-play players this week, week 8. Listen, guys, we are in week 8, which means that there are teams who are on the bubble, who need some dubs. Um,
Hmm.
and we have guys and females in their teams who are most likely in and some that are most likely out. Now, this year was interesting. In one of my leagues, I have just one loss. I'm kicking ass. In another league, I have 2 wins. That's it.
Oh man.
However, in that league, for the majority of the beginning of the season, my bench has been filled with PUP and IR guys. And now all of those guys are coming back and we're looking to make a run. At one time on my bench, I had Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, TJ Hawkinson, Cooper Cup, and um, Josh Downs was down
Hmm.
injured as well. And all of those guys are starting to return. TJ Hawkinson, not this week, but maybe next, they're saying. Nick Chubb is back. Cooper Cup got me 16 in a PPR last night. And so we're returning. And Christian McCaffrey, who knows? But that's neither here nor there. But if he comes back, watch out. So if you're like me, you're excited for the second half of this season because everyone who thought you were out, you still got a shot. And so that's what we're
Yep.
doing today. We're going to pick guys who we think this week are must plays, 2 guys apiece. Listen, here's what we did last week. My 2 last week, I went 1-1. I had Raheem Mostert, who I thought would steal a couple of TDs back from a Chan after he came back from his concussion. He did not. Instead, he had 11 carries for 50 yards, but lost a fumble. So he only ended up with 3 points. However, I did have David Njoku after they lost to Amari Cooper, and he went off for 23.6 on 10 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Willy P, on the other hand, 2 for 2, big week for the kid.
That's
Joe
good.
Mixon, 26.4 with 25 carries, 115 yards, 2 tubs, 2 receptions for 9 yards. And Kittle, who despite getting hurt, still had 6 for 92, 15.2 points on the week. So we're going to try to match that, double down with our players this week. So Willy P, why don't you get us started, my man?
I forgot that you did Njoku last week because it was a great pick, obviously, and you did well. And I think you must start him again this week. He's my first player, and the biggest reason why they're playing the Ravens, which is obviously very scary if you're a Browns fan because your offense is terrible. But like you said, Amari Cooper is gone. A lot of people are expecting Jerry Jeudy to take on that wide receiver 1 role, as he should. But as Steve Smith Sr. said a couple years ago when he was still in the Broncos, he's a jag, as in just a guy. The guy who is not a jag on the Browns offense, besides Nick Chubb, as we all know, is David Njoku. And the reason why I'm having Njoku be a back-to-back now for this show as a must-start in fantasy is, yes, the Ravens have a great team. The Ravens are again Super Bowl contenders, blah, blah, blah. The Ravens give up the 5th most PPR fantasy points to tight ends this year. I think, as we know, everything that you said about him last week, Tyler, carries over into this week and even more. The Ravens are terrible at defending the tight end position. And I think, again, Njoku is their number 1 option in terms of the passing game. I think you hammer him. Hopefully, the Browns can keep it close. I don't think they will, but even if they're getting blown out, they're still going to have to throw the ball, and we've seen that Njoku is now that number 1 option. Will he get 23 fantasy points again this week? Maybe not, but given the data and what the trends are saying, it seems like he will again have another big week, and I think he will at least get over 15 points. And coming from the tight end position, that's really all you can ask for, because as most people know that have played fantasy, whether it's 1 year or their whole life, the tight end position will make or break your team a lot of years. So I love Njoku this week, especially against a Raven secondary that cannot handle big body tight ends like David Njoku.
I like it. I like it. We all know Willy P is a trend guy.
Love
Start
trends.
high, stay high. Where I am
Yep, let's go. Ride it.
a little bit of the opposite. If they've been sucking, it's their time, and if they've
We're
been
due.
crushing it, it's time
Regression.
for them to go the other way. But with that being said, my first pick this week is going to be Jordan Mason versus Dallas, San Francisco 49ers running back. He has been struggling a little bit for the last 3 games.
Yep.
Not what you wanted, with how he started this season, he was crushing it. Now, of course, he's been dealing with that AC joint injury, and despite that, they're still handing him the ball off. We talked about it a little bit earlier. San Francisco is dealing with a lot of injuries to their wide receiving core right now. Now, it does obviously Brandon Ayuk is out for the season, so that's set. It does Debo Samuel and George Kittle. Debo Samuel had the pneumonia, George Kittle foot sprain. Both practiced yesterday. So they are both actually trending towards playing this week. Now, we talked about it a little bit before the show. Will Debo Samuel after pneumonia playing this week? We're going to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, a lot more tests for him to make sure he's good to go there. Kittle, I think they'll probably play in that by how he feels, symptoms more than anything with that foot sprain. So they do. If Debo is able to play, then they do have a few of those guys back. But I still think that Jordan Mason has a chance to have a huge week this week because they are playing Dallas, and we know that Dallas is 28th out of 32 right now in rush defense. They look terrible. They still don't know if Micah Parsons is going to be back this week. Uh, McCarthy said that he isn't over that threshold to play yet. We do know that Parsons has played in the past injured. He hasn't really cared. He's just gone out and been a dog. But this ankle seems to be something. I mean, it caused him to miss his first game in the NFL. So, I mean, it's definitely been something he's dealing with that actually is limiting him. So they're going to want to make sure that he is fully healthy before they bring him back. So if they are still without him, then I expect Jordan Mason to have himself a nice game, which I love because he is in my lineup. So Jordan Mason, get him in there despite his struggles the last 3 games. This is the week.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I mean, he kind of set the bar very high his first 2 weeks. Getting in the end zone, having big games, and then it's not like he's been playing absolutely terrible, but he's due for another big game, and why not against the Dallas Cowboys in Santa Clara? So um, I love seeing the Cowboys. Jerry Jones is just ruining his media credibility with any media outlet in Dallas, Texas. It's such a joy to
It's not.
watch. Another thing that it's been a joy to watch is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is QB 12 coming into this week for PPR. Jared Goff this week at home against the Titans. That's a big reason why they're a now 13-point favorite is because they're in Ford Field. He has thrown one TD pass in every game except for week 2, at least one TD pass. Dude's been absolutely cooking. Obviously, I think he had whichever game that was a couple weeks ago where he didn't miss a single throw for the majority of the game. I mean, the dude loves
Campbell
that
gave
offense.
away his game ball.
Yeah, what a joke. And I saw that he didn't get the record for that because it wasn't like 20 attempts or more or something. It's like, dude, the guy still went like 18 for 18 or something. Like it's not his fault they don't need to throw the ball because that offense is just so good. But I love Jared Goff to have another big week at home against the Titans. They should just frickin' pound him. He averages 268.3 passing yards a game and 1.6 passing TDs a game. I bet he has 4 this weekend. Who knows? I saw obviously David Montgomery got hurt last week, but it sounds like he's going to play, which is obviously good for the Lions. But Jared Goff is the unsung engine of that offense. Besides that 2-man running game that they have in the backfield of Sonic and Knuckles.
Knuckles and Sonic.
Dude, so funny. I love that that's their name. It is so funny to me for some reason. But anyway, I love Jared Goff this week. He has just been a nice, steady, reliable option, and he should have another huge week this week for you in fantasy. I'm sure anybody that does have him, I'd be surprised if they weren't starting him all year, but I feel like this week alone is the week that you need to start Jared Goff for sure.
I like it. Yeah, Detroit is on a roll right now, and like you said, Goff is much of the reason that is happening. So if he is sitting on your waiver wires somehow, and no one has picked him up, it is a good grab there to get, especially if you are like me and you have Anthony Richardson, because God knows he can't do anything. My last must-play player is wide receiver DJ Moore of the Bears. And I already know what Will's thinking. Why would you ever take anyone on the Bears? Uh,
I
but
DJ more in the league.
they are playing Washington, and they're
Yep.
coming off this bye week. And DJ Moore had a terrible game before the bye week. I think he logged 6 PPR points in week 6. But that wasn't 100% his fault. If you go back to that game, uh, Caleb Williams missed him for a long touchdown that got severely underthrown and ended up being intercepted. And then he went out at the 1 yard line that was originally called a touchdown. And that got taken back. So you take one or both of those, and it is not a 6-point game for him, obviously. This week they play the Commanders. The Commanders are 12th in passing defense, which is by no means bad. It's almost top 10. However, they have allowed 12 passing touchdowns this year, which is tied for the 6th most in the NFL. So, at with that being said, DJ Moore has a good shot at finding the end zone and locking some points for your team against the Commanders. I think this game will be a little bit of a shootout as well if Caleb Williams is on point. Obviously, we got to see what happens with Jaden Daniels as well. He may not play. If that's the case, it may not be a shootout. But I still think that DJ Moore is going to have himself a good game over there with the Bears. So I would put him in.
Dude, don't count out Marcus Mariota yet, dude. He looked pretty good last week. All
Derrick
right.
Henry's best friend.
Yeah. But hey, man, you never know. So I hope Jaden Daniels plays because this could be a great matchup. And obviously, it's picks 1v2 in this past NFL draft. Must see TV. All the Twitter fingers will be ripping all game and post game to either be like I told you or whatever. He's a bust. But I'd be surprised if if the Commanders push Jaden Daniels to play if he is not feeling 100% up to it. I mean, there's no point. They're having a great year that I think most of the league did not expect for them to have. But I agree with you with DJ Moore. The Commanders' defense is one of the worst in the NFL. I'm shocked that they are 12th in pass defense. When you told me that, I honestly don't believe that, but that's just facts. So they just get points hung up on them every week, and that's crazy to me that they're a top 15 pass defense. But the more you know.
The more you know. Well, with that, we go into our favorite segment where Will and I get to debate the games this week and see who can come out on top. Did we have any differences last week? I can't even remember, man.
I don't think we did. Remember, because we had to check the pick 'em, or I was like, we just got to know the record. I don't think we did have any differences.
No differences, huh?
Broncos won. Did the Jags win last week? No, did they?
No, we had all the same ones.
I know we got the Falcons wrong. I'm doing this really quick. I should have done this last night. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, dude. We picked Denver. We picked
they won.
We picked Jacksonville. We picked Atlanta, which we were wrong. We picked Buffalo. We picked Cincinnati. We picked Houston, which we were wrong because Green Bay won it right at the end. We picked Indy, which we were right. We picked Detroit, which we were right. We picked Philly, which we were right. We picked the Rams over the Raiders, which we were right. We picked Washington over Carolina, which we were right. We picked San Francisco over Kansas City, which we were wrong. We picked the Jets to win it over Pittsburgh. We picked Baltimore, and then we picked the Chargers, which Arizona won that game, if you remember. But not bad for a couple ones that we probably could have thought out a little bit more, maybe. But we moved to week 8.
Oh, well, I'll be honest. I didn't think Russell Wilson was going to have the deep ball touches that he would have from his career in Seattle. And George Pickens, of course, looks like a top 3 wide receiver in the league.
I tell you what, dude, he crushed it on my bench.
Me too. And then we're going to play him this week, and he's going to just So,
Oh,
it's
100%,
it's like
100%.
Gabe Davis from the past, like, 3 seasons.
I'm
Like,
wondering.
Gabe
I'm like, I
Davis
gotta trade him now after that game.
yeah, dude.
Is what's
It
gotta
is
happen.
just he's so annoying. Anyway,
We'll see. All right. Well, week 8. Let's start it off. We obviously already had Thursday night football.
who'd
Um,
you pick for that? Vikings?
I would have picked the
I
Vikings.
did. I did, yeah. I picked it. I always just do it anyway, and I
I,
picked the
I,
Vikings. I'm
I
calling them.
actually I would have picked the Vikings only because I didn't know Puka was going to play until
That's true.
right
That's very
before.
true.
Had I known Puka and Cooper were going to play, I may have actually swung a little bit to the Rams just because those guys, they're the difference makers for that team. We saw it last night. Just giving Stafford that option. But
Yeah.
what I did not see coming was Robinson going for 2 touchdowns. That was
Oh,
outrageous.
dude. He had
Marcus
2
Robinson?
catches in both. Dude, I looked at the stats when after I got out of the Nuggets game, and I was like, oh, guess who had 2 touchdowns? To my buddy, he was like, who? I was like, Demarcus Robinson. And he's like, really? And I was like, guess how many catches he had? He goes, what? I go, 2. Like, get
Brutal.
out of here, dude.
Killing me.
God.
Killing
He'll
me.
never do that again all year. He'll
Oh,
never do it again all year.
no way. But we move to Sunday's game. Cincinnati, Philly. I got Cincinnati. Now, I know earlier you said that you were going to take Philly on the spread, but are you going to take Philly to win the game?
Yep. I am.
All right. So we
I
already
took the
got a
Eagles.
difference. I
I'm
like it.
normally you'll see if if I have if I have something in my money line spread, more often than not, unless the spread is egregious, like 7 or more, I will take who I say in the morning in the early picks.
I
It's a
like it.
pretty
I
I'm
like
pretty
starting
trans.
us off with a difference maker, man.
Me
I
too.
love that. Finally. All right. Baltimore, Cleveland. I think we got to take Baltimore. No, I think everyone knows
Yep.
you're not taking
Yep.
Cleveland.
Yep.
Detroit, Tennessee. We already talked about it. Got to take
Detroit.
Detroit. Miami, Arizona. I'm taking Miami. Tua's back.
Me too. Me
Tua's
too.
back. Now, Hill and Waddle both have injuries right now, but I think they're
Mm-hmm.
both going to play. They're both trending towards
Mm-hmm.
playing. Waddle's
Well, yeah, you probably
got a
saw what
quad.
Tyreek.
What's that?
I'm sure you saw what Tyreek said the other day after they found out that Tua was going to play. He was like, lock me in, like the boys are about to eat. I forget exactly what he said, but he was telling reporters, he was like, you need to play me this week, and I was like, oh
He
man.
said
So
that even when Tua was out, and we all know how
I
that went. But
right.
I do agree that Tua is a massive upgrade for him and for that team.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they will win, um, especially against Arizona this weekend.
Yep.
Jets, Patriots. Got to take the Jets, dude. They're
Yeah.
starting to move. They're starting to move. I hate it, but
I hate them so much.
I know. But you got to take them.
This is
You
the
can't
first
take
time.
New England.
This is the first time the Jets have been a favorite in New England since like I think it was like '05 or something like
Patriots
that,
are going
which
to win.
makes sense. Obviously,
Patriots are
you
going
had
to win.
Tom.
I'm taking the Jets, but the Pats are going to win it somehow because they just can't let the Jets win at home, dude.
Dude, Drake May looks pretty good. I will say, like he is exceeding expectations that I set for him.
Dude, the offensive line is going to somehow like figure it
I know.
out for one game, and it's going to be this one. You just know it's
Yeah.
coming. Uh, I mean, I love that, but I also am taking the Jets. So,
Yeah.
Atlanta, Tampa Bay, we already talked about. Tampa Bay's just got too many injuries in their wide receiving
Mm-hmm.
core. You got to take Atlanta. Green Bay, Jacksonville, we talked about. Jacksonville
Yep.
just until they prove that they can play football again. You
Yeah.
got to take Green Bay. Houston, Indy, got to take Houston. Got to take Houston
Mm-hmm.
at home. Dude, Anthony Richardson needs to figure it out.
I have a
So
sneaky
bad.
feeling that game is going to be really close, though.
Yeah.
Those two, whenever they play a divisional game, it's like everybody's like, "Oh, it's whoever's like the favorite." They're always like, "Oh, they're going to win, no problem." And then it's always like a last-second field goal or like this. What is the spread on that?
5.
Oh, it's 5. Yeah,
5.
so there you go. Like I think I would not be surprised if the Colts covered 5, especially if Anthony Richardson can figure it out just a little bit. But
Yeah. No, I agree.
then we'll see.
Chargers, Saints.
Chargers. I can't touch the Saints with Spencer Rattler. He's a loser. Even if Derek Carr comes back, I mean, he is, dude. Like my buddy before that Broncos game was like, "Oh, I kind of like Spencer Rattler. He's pretty good." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then we just spanked them. And I was like, dude, come on. This dude's a bum. Like, come on.
Yeah, I took the Chargers. I
Yeah.
just I think Harbaugh's going to get it done.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Seattle, we already talked about. Seattle, no
Yep.
DK. So Buffalo, they got Amari Cooper now. They got weapons. Got to give
Yep.
me Buffalo. The Broncos, Carolina. If the Broncos don't win this game, they shouldn't have fans anymore. I saw
I know,
today
and I'm
that
going.
Adam Thielen out, Deontay out, and Bryce Young starting with Andy Dalton out. So if the Broncos somehow lose this game, you should pick a different team.
I know, and I'm going to the game, and the spread is 10. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, that is begging for me to take that. But I know that if I take it, we're gonna win by 3, and everybody's gonna be like, oh no. But
Yep.
yeah, we got to win that game. We got to win that game.
Gotta win that one. Then we got Kansas City, Las Vegas. Obviously, you're going to take Kansas City in this game. Keep in mind, Las Vegas was the last team to beat Kansas City. However, that is a completely different team right now. And
That was a
Kansas
Christmas
City,
miracle.
I mean,
That was
they're
a
going to
Christmas
end up
miracle.
still
I was
being
on Christmas Day.
undefeated
Yeah,
after
that's
this
there,
game.
dude. There's no way.
We'll see how DeAndre Hopkins plays. If they play him, I'm sure they will, but we'll see with the
That
injuries
could be
they
a
have
fun
to their
little.
wide receiving core right now.
I was thinking about in the newsletter just being extra degenerate and be like, take DeAndre Hopkins anytime. But I also was like thinking then logically and was like, doesn't know the offense. Blah blah blah. I don't know, but that
He's
could be a
old.
fun little. He is old. It could be a fun little 2-leg if you want to get spicy with it. Do a little D hop anytime parlayed with Devontae Adams. Have them both get in the end zone for the first time on their new teams. So obviously
Yeah,
Devontae played last week and didn't get in the end zone, but never know. Never
we'll see
know.
what
We'll
happens.
see. We'll see what happens.
Um, Bears, Commanders. I'm taking the Commanders.
I'm taking the Bears. Let's go.
All right.
I'm taking the Bears. Yep. Let's
Now
go.
we'll see what happens if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. This game is completely different. So,
Yep.
um,
Yeah. Too bad you're locking it in now on the record. So doesn't matter now. You picked them.
I
Let's
love
go.
it. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels has a Kobe moment where he's like, despite being hurt, I'm not running, and I'm showing up anyway. So we'll see what happens. Um,
Yeah.
he's not ducking him. And then you got San Francisco, Dallas. I tell you what, I'm taking San Francisco. However, part of me wanted to take Dallas until I realized that I don't think Micah Parsons is going to play, and I just don't think that defense has a shot, even if San Francisco's offense is as banged up as it is. If Kittle and Debo both are on that field, so we're gonna see. But I'm taking San Francisco. Are you taking Dallas?
I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. I
Taking the
hate it.
Dallas
I
Cowboys.
hate it. But ever since you got hurt, obviously, Caffrey still that offense is banged up. Debo has pneumonia. Kittle's got a bad foot. I was like, if there's any game that the Cowboys are going to win that they shouldn't to turn their season around, because Lord knows Roger Goodell needs the Cowboys in the playoffs for ratings, it will be this game on Sunday Night Football in Santa Clara. And I'm taking the Cowboys, and I hate it. And they're probably going to lose by 20, and I'm going to look like an idiot. But, man, if there's any game where Dak Prescott is going to wake up and that offense is going to wake up, it's got to be on prime time in Santa Clara.
I don't know if you could see my sheet here, but I had Dallas. It crossed them off and went with San Francisco because I was going back and forth between the two for those exact reasons. So
I'm
that'll
taking
be a
the
fun
gamble.
one. That'll be a fun
I'm
one.
taking the gamble.
I love it. And that's a
Yeah.
night game for us. That'll be a fun one
Yep.
for us.
Yep.
I love it. And then, of course, Monday night, we got Pittsburgh, New York. I'm going to take the Steelers.
Pittsburgh all day.
And that will wrap it up for the pick 'em. We got 3 differences: Cincinnati, Philly, Washington, Chicago, and San Francisco, Dallas, which I love because that means that we can't tie like we did the other night. Someone's
Yeah.
coming out a winner.
Yeah. We might
Someone's
have to
coming
make
out
a
a
rule. If
winner.
we tie, we gotta like flip a coin, and someone on a matchup that like could be close, someone's got to go the other way. Just because tie-ins for sissies, dude.
Yeah,
We can't
can't
be
have the
having.
ties.
We can't be having that.
Or we pick a game and we pick like a anytime touchdown.
That'd be fun. A little
Winner,
tiebreaker. That'd be
yeah, a little
fun.
tiebreaker. Winner comes down. Either
That'd be
you
fun.
could do a score pick, or you could just do like a anytime touchdown or something like that. Would be fun.
Or we could just keep it even simpler too, and just say, will they cover the spread or not? Like if
Yeah.
we both, you know what I mean? Like that could be a good one because that's always.
All right.
But I
So
like
if we
anytime
start
touchdown
tying,
too.
we'll start doing a little tiebreakers just to make sure.
Yeah.
With that, we come to our last segment of the week, player props. To put that little bit of extra money in your pocket, Willie P, what do you got for us? Week 8.
Well, speaking of anytime touchdown scores, you might be a little bit surprised by this. I traded Garrett Wilson away for this guy in a standard league, and the biggest reason why I did is because this dude gets in the end zone, and that is Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm taking him to score an anytime touchdown this week. It's still great value at plus 145. He the Packers ranked 20th out of 32 in red zone defense. They struggle defending the pass in the red zone. Obviously, that's not like bottom of the league, but it is far enough down for me where I'm like, that jumps out to me for sure. He has on average a 23.7% target share in the red zone. Right now, the only person above him is Gabe Davis, but we know what Gabe Davis does, and that is he does not show up and catch touchdowns. And 3 out of the 4 touchdowns that Brian Thomas Jr. has caught this year have been in the red zone. So hopefully, obviously, this is all dependent on if Jacksonville can get their offense moving, at least get even into the red zone. But when I expect them to at least once or twice, when they do get down there, Trevor Lawrence loves to get that ball to that rookie, and he's a great, great young player that should be there for a long time. So I love Brian Thomas Jr. to get into the end zone. Who knows? And he doesn't need just to be in the red zone to score, but all the data is showing that if they get in the red zone, they're looking for him most of the time. So, and the way that ETN's been playing, it's not like they're going to be handing him off that much. So, I love Brian Thomas to get into the end zone.
For sure. I like it.
Yeah. My next one, this one does scare me a little bit. I would call it risky just because it is so trendy. It might be time for regression. But it's Drake London over 5.5 receptions at minus 130. He averages 6.2 on the year. And like I said earlier, the Bucs ranked 29th in pass defense out of 32 in the NFL. Drake London obviously is wide receiver 1 for the Falcons. Kirk Cousins loves to throw the ball to him. Big reason why I took this is one, because of how bad the Bucs pass defense is. Also, the Falcons should be coming out swinging in this game against Tampa Bay, mainly because they got blown out last week by the Seahawks at home. And he did hit this line last week against Seattle, and he has hit this line of at least 6 receptions every game this year except for week 1. So that's why it scares me a little bit. He's now hit it 6 weeks in a row. That normally smells regression, but with the volume that Drake London gets, I love it. And minus 130, obviously the odds aren't terrible. They're creeping down that way. I'd get that as soon as you can, because if they keep it at 5.5, those odds should just continue to get worse. And rightfully
Drake
so.
London's that guy. I like that.
Drake London is steady as can be. So I was surprised when I saw it yesterday that it wasn't at least 6.5 or 7, just because 6 weeks in a row of hitting the over at the same prop line every time is pretty incredible to me. So, give me Drake London over 5.5 receptions. I feel very good about that pick. And I wouldn't put all your money on it just because there could be some regression, but again, everything's pointing towards him having another big week and at least getting 6 catches for sure. My next one will play into your pick'em pick pretty well for Sunday Night Football. Give me Brock Purdy over 239 passing yards at minus 115. I don't know why this number is so low, because Purdy averages 263 through the air so far this year. And like you said,
It's got to do with the injuries, I'm assuming.
Yeah, yes, that makes sense. And also, obviously, the Cowboys do not have a very good defense. They do allow 213.3 passing yards per game this year on their average, which is 19th out of 32. So I mean, they have Trayvon Diggs, they have Deron Bland, they have a decent secondary, and they obviously have trouble getting to the quarterback, especially without Micah Parsons. But I think this game, especially being on Sunday Night Football in Santa Clara, will be a shootout. It should be a shootout, and you know what shootout spells. That means throwing the ball downfield. So I think Brock Purdy will have no problem covering this line, especially like we've said, if they're banged up. Even with a minimal receiving core, he's still going to have to throw the ball. I don't think Jordan Mason is going to be able to carry the ball 30 times and have them win that game. It's going to come down to Purdy and his arm. And then my final pick, another trendy pick, the man that used to run in jeans, but now has found his stride. Who might that be? Oh, Najee Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That man last year, as you all know, looked like he didn't know how to run a football to save his life. It looked like he had 2 broken knees. This year, he has back-to-back games with 100-plus rushing yards. I'm taking Najee Harris to blow out his rushing prop of 62.5. Give me the over all day. It's minus 115. This number should skyrocket as well. And the big reason as well, the Giants rank fourth worst in yards per carry allowed this year in the NFL. They also rank third worst in yards after contact in the NFL this year. Najee Harris, as you know, an Alabama guy, big physical runner,
Roll Tide.
and Roll Tide. And he, like I said, has back-to-back games with 100-plus yards. 62.5 just seems comically low for me for Najee Harris. Give me him to go over. I feel very good about that pick.
Yeah, I like him, man. I like all of those. I think we got some real value there. So it should be a good week. Got a good lot of good games, a lot of good
Yeah, should
matchups.
be a good week.
There's going to be definitely some upsets, I think. So I'm looking forward to this Sunday. Well, there you have it. Those are the bets of the week. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you also got Willy P's bets from that earlier yesterday. And then, of course, check out our social media pages because Will's always throwing bets down there as well for you that look juicy and tasty. So grab them there. Go to predictors.com for all your injury and news information. And make sure that you see us back here next week for another Frisky Risky betting and fantasy podcast. We will see you then.